This is episode 3 of Spicy Time. Tonight we're going to try something new. We looked at a bunch of different ways to do this, but we've decided on our own methodology here, but we're going to make celery powder tonight. Now, celery powder is very interesting. In my grocery store, it's not for sale. You can buy celery salt, which is basically celery powder and salt on a 1-to-1 ratio, 50-50. Matter of fact, the other powders we make, you can also turn into their equivalent salts, garlic salt, onion salt, with a 50-50 mixture of that powder and salt as well. So I found celery salt in my grocery store for about $5.29 for an 8-ounce bottle. I could find celery powder at Amazon for like $10 for a 4-ounce bottle. So celery powder seems to be a rather expensive commodity. So we're going to make a bunch of it tonight. There's a lot of things you can use it in. We've got a recipe that we're going to make tomorrow. Come back for that. And in the meantime, this is how we're going to make our celery powder. Now, I'm going to start with 2 bunches of celery. Each of these was $2.99 at my store, so I invested a total of $5.98, or the equivalent of an 8-ounce bottle of celery salt, or a 4-ounce, half of 2 ounces of celery powder, right? So my $6 I invested, we're going to see what that turns into. To make the celery powder, we're going to start by cutting off the bottoms of the celery. We're going to use the whole stalk, leaves included. So we're going to just go ahead and slice the whole bundle, and we're going to do both of these. And then we're going to put it into a colander and go ahead and wash them then. And once they're washed, then the fun part starts. We're going to take these in batches and we're going to mince them in our little mini food processor. Now, I think it's pretty clear that celery is an extremely liquid intensive vegetable. So what I'm going to do after I'm done mincing them is I'm going to press them in paper towels to try to absorb off a lot of the moisture so that we're just left with the pulpy flesh and very little moisture. So that's going to be helpful in moving us a long way towards our goal of dehydration. So because we're mincing this, the particles of celery would fall through the cracks of the trays. So we're going to go ahead and use a strip of parchment paper, 2 strips per tray. And then we're going to put a layer of the celery on the parchment paper. I believe in this batch we're going to end up with 8 full trays. We ended up, look at this, we ended up with so much of the minced celery. It's crazy. But as we all know, as this dehydrates down, it's going to shrink. So hopefully we'll still have a pretty good amount left when we're done. All right, so let's get this on the dehydrator. We're going to set the dehydrator for 10 hours at about 122 degrees. Our dehydrator's funny. I can't set specific numbers. So we're going to be at 122 degrees. And we're just going to let this go. And I suspect it's going to take quite a while. So I'll be back here in a little bit and we'll rotate the trays and I'll show you that. And what I'll probably have to do as well is as I rotate the trays, I'll have to stir the celery that's on the parchment paper as well, just to keep to get the dry and the wet stuff mixed around. Okay, so I will be back in a few hours, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, it's been about 3 hours. It's starting to feel kind of dry at the very top, so we're going to rotate the trays and we're going to stir the minced celery on each of the tiers as we rotate them. All right, so generally pretty dry around the edges, but very wet in the middle. Stirring it is a very good thing to do. Rotating it, again, a good thing to do. More dry towards the bottom racks. So, good rotation, good stirring. I think we're on our way. We'll see you back here in a few hours and see how it's doing. All right, it's been going for 5 hours now. It seems to be fairly dry. I don't think it's done. We're going to give it another stir and another rotation here. I think we'll be really close. All right, we are finally done dehydrating these 2 bundles of celery. Took about 12 to 13 hours to get it all done. But here's what it looks like. That's it. So, we are going to now grind this down into a powder. And then we'll put it in our little handy dandy stopper vials and see how much we end up with. All right, let's get it done. And there it is. And boy, it's pungent in a good way. It smells amazing. All right, let's go ahead and get this in our jars and let's see how much we end up with. All right, so I guess our experience has made it clear why celery powder is so expensive. Each bundle of celery produced about 4 ounces of celery powder. So for me, that means celery powder, 8 ounces, cost about $5.98 for me just to make it. So it's about double that if you buy celery powder on Amazon. I can't buy it at my grocery store, like I mentioned. Now, celery salt, if I did a 1-to-1 ratio, I would double this amount, and I would end up with 16 ounces of celery salt, which is twice what my celery salt costs at, let me redo the math. So I will end up with 16 ounces of celery salt, which would result in a net cost of half of what it costs me at my grocery store. So for the celery salt, definitely cost savings. But I now have celery powder and celery salt, so I can use them however I like. So there you go. Definitely economical. Quality is going to be much better. It did take a long time to get these to dehydrate down, but again, you're not working during those 12 to 13 hours to make it happen. It's just happening. So, not a lot of effort. Just cut it up and minced it. Okay, no big whoop. Well, there you have it. Come back tomorrow. We're going to share the recipe that we make with this. And, I don't know, see how good it is. All right, we'll see you then.